Hey everybody, I'm the Rock Doc, and
This is Gabe.
been a few, so just wanted to welcome you back to our channel. Sorry we've been away from you. We've had a lot going on, so
We've been trying to make a video for like 2 months now.
yeah,
Oh, we even made a video when we were in the car just to make an update video. And that happened like November, I think, or something. It was like a really long time ago.
we did a Facebook Live. It was almost an hour and a half drive, and it didn't upload. So
Yeah,
we've had some technological difficulties, and hopefully the sound is better. That's what we've been working on. If not, we're going to keep messing with it, but we'll get there. But we thought we had a whole bunch of subjects we were going to be working on, and
that's another thing too. We've been wanting to get new videos out for a while now because so many subjects keep popping up. We have so many ideas for episodes, and we just haven't really had the time.
it's been crazy.
So everything's been kind of backing up, and we're like, well, what's going to be our next video? And like, we were thinking, we'll just say this is season 2, and we'll have open up with a new video, but we didn't know which one that would be, and it's been taking us so long to make a new video that the idea for what the first video should be about kept changing too.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, we need to talk about this right now, and then it is far too late.
we touched the table, the microphone's going to pick it up.
Oh yeah, that's why I
Someone
tapped
just
lightly.
went, yeah. So, this, we've had so many subjects that seemed so important
Yeah.
that it couldn't wait, but we've seen this happening. What we're going to talk about today, and it's probably going to be titled Jewish Mystical Cults and Messianic Judaism, and these things that are kind of invading Christianity, and even those of you who are not Christians have got to be at this point seeing friends and family drawn into this. I have multiple friends. In fact, the first time I was made aware of this, I had someone coming to buy rabbit poop, and she came up to me and she's like, well, I know you believe in Jesus, but that's not his real name. And I go, oh, what's his? And I've heard a lot of these before. And I assumed this was going to go down the whole, his name's not Jesus, and with the J, and that's his pagan name. And it sort of did, but she said, no, it's Yahuah. And I went, Yeshua? Yahuah. And I thought I wasn't hearing her right. And I said, you mean Yeshua? And she said, no, Yahuah. And I was like, okay. She's like, I'll send you a video. So I watched several of the videos, and I kind of, at that point, I mean, it was not even logical in any way. You're going to hear our dog growling because Abby's fat butt, she thinks she's a dog, and she's over there, and if she gets anywhere near our dog, the dog growls. So you're going to probably hear the dog growling. If we lock up Abby, those that have visited can attest, she will just ram the doors. She's a 20-pound plus cat. Bam, bam. But
Yeah, she's huge and she's quite mean. So is it the point where our dog doesn't even like her anymore and scared for that when she's around? Our dog gets a little scared and kind of wary. So our dog's trying to sleep and the cat's trying to sleep on the dog, essentially.
yeah.
Because she's so big, she takes up enough space that she's just on the dog. And the dog's too scared. So she's trying to growl and get her way. The cat doesn't care.
Yeah, so you might hear that, although she's now moved to the other couch. But anyways, so I research everything, and I went, oh, I got to check into this, and the only video that she sent me just explained that this was all a mistranslation, and the J's didn't exist, and all this, and I put it on the back burner, to be honest.
Well, yeah, because what happened is you mentioned like this one incident, and I was like, that's a weird like small time thing that like one person thought they figured it out, and it's not a big deal kind of thing. But it seems like it's become a huge like movement, and it's like apparently like there's tons and tons of people who are going into this stuff.
Yeah, and I should let you know the reason I've had some confusion in my life is my husband and I actually met in a Messianic congregation. I've always considered myself Messianic. I did not know that definition has changed. It's changed radically. So those of you who are watching this that are over the age of maybe 35 probably are kind of confused with some of your friends who claim to be Torah observant or Messianic, and you think that's an okay thing. It just means they're fulfilled Jews, or they've adopted the Hebrew and the Jewish traditions, but they're still Christians.
Yeah, they
and
still see Jesus as the Messiah.
Right. That is not the case anymore. So,
Yeah.
Mess up my hair here. It's late. It's like, what, 1:30 or something? We do these late. So, I have probably confused some of my friends who they mostly call themselves Torah observant now, who think I'm of the same belief system, but I'm not. I really thought we were talking about the same thing. So over the year, different breadcrumbs have been thrown my way. So I heard about Yahuah, and then as I was chasing that down, I start having other friends send me videos about Yahusha, and I'm going, I have studied, language and Hebrew roots and all this for quite some time, and I was like, something's really wrong here. So I started trying to track it down. Believe it or not, it was not easy. And me, I'm always looking for the outbreak monkey, and it's easy for me. And I just was surprised that the only place I could find information really was YouTube. And we watched several videos, and everyone's like, I'm no longer a Christian because I believe in Yahuah, and there's all these, here's why I believe, but not a single one ever proved or explained why they believed it.
Yeah, they never explained where the origin of that belief came from, only that's what they believed. They kept saying stuff like, it's in the Bible, this verse says that you gotta know the real name, and therefore I know, since I know the real name is such and such, I'm a believer of that, or whatever. It's like, but then where'd you even hear that name in the first place? No one ever say the origin. They go, well, their real name is such and such, and like, where are you getting the information from? And it took us so long to find any link to it. Everyone just believes it because they've been told it. It seems.
Yeah, and I don't know why it's taking over with such fervor too. Other than I think people right now are very hungry. And they're desperate to belong and to make some kind of meaning as to what's going on in the world. And we're not just talking about your typical Messianic Judaism. We're mainly talking about cults here, and that's what they are. And there's so much Jewish mysticism. Kabbalah has been popular for quite some time. This is relatively new, and we believe we tracked it down, and it's less than 10 years old, so that in religion is new, really new.
We found like something related to it that goes back to the 30s. No older than that though, for sure.
Yeah, so it definitely will have some screenshots for you here, but I wanted to bring up first, if you're kind of going, this is what I had observed from different friends who are involved in these kind of groups. They all have these kind of common beliefs. So they all celebrate a Friday night Sabbath. So generally the Sabbath is Friday night, midnight into Saturday morning. But you will notice, like, if you're on Facebook with them, they'll be like Shabbat Shalom on Friday. So that's just, you'll always notice this. They follow all of the festivals, even ones that the Orthodox Jews themselves aren't that involved with. They're very... Jesus is the anti-Messiah. I've seen this on 6 different videos where they specifically said Jesus is the anti-Messiah. They will change their names to something that sounds Hebrew, and they also change the names of everyone in the Bible and the chapters into different names. And I've not been able to track that down, which if there's a specific Bible they're using. The only thing that came close was the TLV Bible. I think it's a Tree of Life version, and that's supposed to be a Hebrew roots. So
because that's what I'm thinking. Not only is the Yahusha or whatever, or Yahuah, or all these other different names keep coming up with. Not only was it hard tracking those down, but apparently they did it for every name in the Bible.
Yeah, like John is now like Yehukanon, stuff like that.
And there's literally no referencing for where they came up with that.
Yeah. The other thing is, you'll notice if you've seen your friends on Facebook, they'll be, names so-and-so, Bat Yah, or Bar Yah. So Yah is another big thing, which I always think Jah, like Rastafarians. So there's a lot of beliefs here that have taken on mistranslations. But before we go there, I want to continue on the common beliefs. So they are all 100%. There is no rapture. You have to go through the tribulation all the way until the end. That's a real common thread.
And we might even make a future video about that, just because even outside of this whole Jewish thing, there's a lot of other Christians who don't know whether or not there's a rapture or if the rapture is pre or post trib.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that might be another future video that we'll discuss that topic further.
Yeah, and the other thing, and I've been talking to friends who've left some of these congregations, but apparently Christians, and this is from several videos that I've watched so far. They do not believe Christians are saved. They are not of Israel. They're not in the tribe. So the closest thing I've gotten is that they believe, that the New Jerusalem will come down, and there'll be inner courts, outer courts, different levels of courts, and they will be in the inner court, and everyone else, if they make it, will be in the outer court. That's the what I've been hearing. Of course, and we've brought this up before. Very anti-holiday. Everything is pagan to them, including Jesus. He's super pagan. He's a pagan deity. He's so that is the big issue with these mysticism cults, and that's what we're going to call them, is they are trying to disprove that Jesus is the Messiah, even though they're saying that's a Messianic congregation. So that's what I'm saying. Things have kind of changed.
Yeah, not only do they say they're Messianic, but also are against Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
but even some of them still read the New Testament and believe in the New Testament, even though it's about Jesus. So there's definitely a lot of confusion around this whole aspect. We saw somebody say that there's no distinction between Old and New Testament; they're the same testament. But then they're also like don't really believe in Jesus, but that's the whole point of the New Testament.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a lot of confusion, and it's like there's it's very strange, especially when you go to the whole inner and outer court thing. It seems to stem from this too, which is that they seem to think so many bizarre things, but they also think that you aren't fully saved unless you're Jewish, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That Jesus doesn't really count, although some of them still believe in Jesus. It still doesn't like fully count unless you're Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's becoming this really weird thing in which they have to like change your name, change their religion, in order to be like fully saved, and like it. I don't understand why they're coming up with this. Best I can figure is because like that one lady had said in her video, she was talking about why she believes in Yahusha and is no longer a Christian. It was very strange because she's like, I'm no longer a Christian. It's like, so you're no longer believing in Jesus Christ, but she mentions that she believes there's no distinction between New and Old Testament, and they both count the same, which means she believes in the New Testament but doesn't believe in Christ. And more importantly, it seems like that's kind of the reasoning is that if the Old and New Testament are the same testament, she even referred to the New Testament as a renewed testament, meaning it's the same one that's just been reinforced essentially. Then if as my understanding is, the Old Testament is a testament or a covenant between God and the Israelites, and New Testament is with God through Jesus to the whole world. But because they say there's no distinction, that means that the New Testament is still the same old one, and therefore it only counts towards the Israelites. Therefore, only the Jews are saved.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's kind of dangerous.
Well, and we need to do a disclaimer, although it's, we shouldn't have to. Sorry, this is making me nuts. Because number one, I want to definitely say we are not anti-Jewish, and we're not in that movement that the Jews are bad people, that they're behind, and that's where a lot of this comes from too.
Yeah.
That they're behind all the evil in the world, that there isn't real Jews, that certain people aren't real Jews. We're not into that. We're not discussing that. I have a lot of very dear Orthodox Jewish friends. That's not the issue. We're talking.
I've even heard some Christians say that Jews aren't saved.
Right.
Even if they're of Jewish faith. It's like, I can understand where they're coming from because they don't believe in Jesus. They aren't saved, but they're still under the old covenant. I would assume that would still count.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not what we're bringing up here. And having to cover this subject, and I'm going to show you all the proof we've been able to dig up that if you just further research these, you're going to see how ridiculous this is. But I want to preface it too, because of the subject matter, it's going to go into some of the movements with black people that some of these different Black Israel movements and things like that. So we are not against any certain people. You know, we love everybody, and I know you hear Christians say that all the time, and it usually means we're about to fundamentalize you or Bible thump you, but I'm just saying those subjects are going to come up in the research. So we're not in any way pushing any of those ideologies, but I just want to warn you ahead of time, when we went down these bunny trails, this is what we ran into.
Yeah.
And it is important because I do believe these people are being deceived, and they're deceiving others. And this stuff is spreading like crazy. If you haven't heard of it yet, I'd be surprised. If you are not, maybe you're not on social media, you go to a local congregation, or maybe you don't go to a congregation, you haven't heard of this yet. But I think those of you that are pretty active in today's society have to have friends doing this, because I can count more than a handful, and I don't have a super huge friends list. I keep it very small. So
yeah, like I'm actually genuinely surprised by how fast it's growing. As only a few months ago, it felt like it was a few like sections of people, like, and it was kind of small. But now it feels like it's widespread and considered like what you just typically know as a Christian, just knows these type of things, kind of thing. It's like a household name type situation.
yeah.
And I'm surprised by it's growing so fast. It's at a point where I'm feeling like this is the origin of the one world religion. You know what I mean?
I mean, it is. It baffles me that people could be deceived this easy.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it comes to the world's oldest religion. You know, that's where a lot of these sacred things come from. We want the secret. It's all the same thing. You want to know something no one else has known before. And this is what I had noticed, and there has been internet challenges, and I do not recommend this at all. Number one, these could be names of demons that you're praying to. We don't know yet for sure, but I'm pretty sure you're not gonna be happy with the roots of what we discovered. But here's the thing: there's been internet challenges, and there's different people coming forward saying, "Pray to Yahusha." Or Yahuah, and your prayers will get answered. And when you pray to Jesus, they don't, and they're swearing they're getting their prayers answered. Again, do not recommend that. In fact, you could be opening some doors that, again, we don't know where they're going to go. So
yeah, there's a lot of stories in history, or even just in theory. Like there's a book turned movie called The Visitation that kind of follows a similar idea of
Frank Peretti.
Was it Frank Peretti or was it Ted Decker?
No, it's Frank Peretti.
Okay.
Yeah.
The idea is a whole town gets suckered into a cult leader, who is pretending to be Christian, but he's using satanic like rituals and whatnot. Here. And it basically the idea is that because he's calling demons in order to to trick people, the demons are much more willing to actually do things. Like they're more willing to heal people, but at a price, of course.
Right.
But the point is that it's instant satisfaction, and by having instant satisfaction, everyone's convinced it must be real. It must be the real thing. Mm-hmm. It's like that's the biggest trick in the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I've got it pulled up here and so that you guys can see it, but. Fascinating book, and they have a movie too. You can just pull it up, I'm sure, anywhere, and the movie's pretty good. But
it's been a while since I've seen it, so I actually don't know if it holds up.
Yeah, it's I mean, I know that's just fantasy, but it's not. And the thing is, these things have happened.
It's based off real events. You know, these things do happen in real life all the time.
Yeah,
people get suckered in because they want to see acts, not faith. You know?
Right, and I think that's what we're seeing now. So I've always been a Frank Peretti fan, so you can see it coming even if you just been around long enough. You've seen cults come and go, and the reason I'm calling this a cult is by definition. If you look up a cult, they fit. If you notice, a lot of these are single women with many children running from divorced homes or coming from other cults, Mormons. I've seen two from Bill Gothard's ministry that seems to be drawing a lot of people. They're trying to buy land together in different parts of the country to live together in a commune type style. So,
it's so clearly like a building block for a cult. I'm surprised that anyone's actually being suckered into it.
Yeah,
it's like the whole commune thing. It's like it's kind of obvious to me.
Yeah,
like I've never been in a cult. But I know enough about the history of cults to know that this is just a cult.
Yeah, it's not a good thing to be. And when they make you change your name, and they and the thing is they wear you out with literally doing 2 or 3 activities a week. Everyone has to eat together, everyone's kids share, everyone, what's yours is mine, you know how they, so that's why I'm calling it a cult. I mean,
Yeah.
they really do kind of go that way. So
It's like on there's an episode of King Hill that does it pretty like to fit, like it's such an easy way to understand it that we're watching that. It's like everyone has to change their name to Jane, and then they make sure that they're worn out and uncertain of themselves, that then whatever they say they'll believe.
yeah.
And it's like really effective, even though it's so simple.
Yeah, so and I know we don't want to take hours to do this, but we could. So the first thing I found, and I know people go, Wikipedia, don't ever go to Wikipedia. Well, I have to tell you, Wikipedia is where I find a lot of things you can't find anywhere else, or I find the bunny trails to find the information. So when I pull up Wikipedia here, it's not that I consider it gospel, but it was that hard to find anything that I had to go down bunny trails that led me to Wikipedia.
Essentially, Wikipedia articles actually have the background of everything. If they have a statement, they have a little number next to it where it gives you where that statement came from, that kind of thing. There's always proof of where it came from.
Yeah.
Which is way more than anybody else talking about these movements has given us.
Yeah, so, you know, and again, when you're trying to chase down the outbreak monkey, you're trying to find the first incidents in history that these things have been mentioned. I have not yet found the exact moment where Yahusha and Yahuah were mentioned, but I think we've got it awfully close.
Yeah.
So the first thing we found was, and you might have heard of this, is the sacred name movement. This is where a lot of and nothing wrong, I got to say, with Hebraic roots. I study those. You have to understand the Hebrew roots of everything to understand the Bible. Nothing wrong with that. And I think people's hunger to study that and know more about that is fueling a lot of this. And when those type of, you know, congregations and meetings say they have the answers and they can prove that certain groups came from Israel, you know, people want that. So this sacred name movement, and I've got this pulled up here, began within the Church of God, or Seventh-day Adventists. So
I just also mentioned too, that's also a reason why, even though they don't really believe in Jesus, they still call themselves Messianic Jews. Is that's to rope in individuals, because like you said, you met Dad at a Messianic church. The point is that so many Christians want to get to learn more about the Jewish culture and traditions and beliefs, but they also want to do it from a Christian perspective.
Right.
So there's a hunger for that, which is why they keep calling themselves Messianic Jews, and this is the Messianic Jew movement, even though they don't really believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
It's just to rope into people who are hungry for that. And then they come into these movements going, I don't know anything about the Jewish history. Go, well, here's the true name of God as described by the Jews. And go, okay, because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And this is what they're saying.
And we're always saying research for yourself, so we're going to try to give you some bunny trails here. But so again, it started with Clarence Orville Dodd in the 1930s, and he was seeking to conform Christianity to its Hebrew roots. Now, nothing wrong with that traditionally.
Yeah.
So, but this is where they started coming up with what's God's sacred name, what's His secret name. It's kind of like they skewed from trying to find the Hebrew roots to all we care more about is the sacred names. So they did come up with sacred name Bibles and things like that. So I had figured this was where this came from. I believe this was kind of the root of this movement, or what planted the seeds. So again, kind of weird bunny trails, but I said, well, I'm looking and I find the Yahuah Bible. And I went, whoa, because I was again trying to find where people have these weird names for the Hebrews and the books of the Bible and the you know, Abraham and Moses. They have all these different names that have no grounding in history or linguistics. So I find the Yahuah Bible, and this gets very interesting because you'll notice right here, Father of Yahusha. So,
well, there's a whole lot more there too.
A lot, yeah.
First off, they misspelled singing, but also they don't want to spell out God fully. That's kind of weird. And I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, they changed the names, but and that's the thing I noticed on several videos. They would not say Jesus. They would spell it out. They'd go Jesus or G/D. So it's very strange, like, but they're willing to say bastardized versions of Hebrew words. So, but yeah, so I found this because I'm just trying to find Yahusha anywhere but YouTube. And so I find the Yahuah Bible. Now, interestingly enough, let me see if I can find this here. It's Daniel W. Merrick, PhD. That's gonna how it's gonna come up when you're looking for it. So he wrote the Yahuah Bible, and he is a well-known author, and apparently had been studying, he says, linguistics for like 40 years. And so he came up with, and he hypothesized in some of his books, and why he wrote this Yahuah Bible and the Yah Bible and some other things, is he says he'd finally figured out God's sacred name. Now, I find it interesting that if this happened over 40 years ago, and this Yahuah Bible was written in, I think it was 2016, 14. So, not terribly old, but yeah, so 2014, if you go back 40 years, it's going to be in the 70s, he probably was familiar at the age of the time that he's studying these things of the works of Clarence Dodd. Not saying he did, but that it's very likely that he was familiar with the Sacred Names movement because it was very popular in the 70s. So could have sent him on this road. But so he is, from what we can tell, the first instance of these names being used.
At least outside the Seventh-day Adventist
Church.
Yeah. Not only that, but also this guy has fascinating history where he's been around in a lot of different areas and fields.
Mm-hmm. He made millions in multi-level marketing company he owned.
Yeah, which really makes
and he wrote a book about it.
Yeah, so, but more importantly too is he had something to do with like some church or Christian thing.
Yeah.
And then he also had like a music career. He has like a lot of different things he does. And so I think a lot of people probably are listening to him just because he's done so much. They think that he's a proper authority on the subject, or he knows better. But considering the fact that he just does whatever will make him rich and famous, it seems to be the case. I can't really tell who he is as a person without really meeting him.
Yeah.
But there is a reason to believe that he probably does, with the multi-level marketing especially,
knows how to market something.
He knows how to market something. He knows how to make it profitable and how to be like a big name and how to make money off that. It's very likely that he wanted to start this whole thing just to immortalize himself. He doesn't necessarily need to be a cult leader or anything like that, but he needs to make an impact on life because he wants to be remembered throughout history, you know.
And we don't know. I mean, that's not here or there. But the thing is there's your proof. It's not historical, and it's not the name translated incorrectly or any of the things these videos claim.
Yeah, because that's the whole point too. Is the whole claim that Yahuah and Yahusha is the correct name is because it's the proper translation of the Hebrew. The problem is you can't find proof of that word existing before like the 1930s, and no Jewish Christian would ever tell you that is the correct pronunciation.
Right.
So then that completely undermines the entire intent that it's supposed to be the proper translation, because there is no properness to it. It's a translation that doesn't exist anywhere.
Yeah, and it can't exist. In fact, the first time my friend mentioned it to me and I watched that video she sent, immediately I thought, this is easy enough. I have a friend who is he's actually an Arab. He's an Arab scholar. He's a linguistics scholar. And I thought he would know. So I said, is there any chance that Y-A-H, I spelled it out to him. I said, can that be in any way a historical, can it be translated, mispronounced? Is this possible? And he says that he just laughed at me. He goes, it's not even possible. So then I checked with a rabbi person that I used to converse with email, and he said the same thing. It's not possible. So you have two completely, supposedly diametric religions that they don't always get along so well with each other, saying the same thing. And they would know the history of, the Arabs know the history and the linguistics of the Hebrew language. They usually all speak it, and vice versa. So just from a scholarly standpoint, it's not possible. So that's why I'm like, we have to track down where it came from. So this is the first thing we could find. Now, this word gets even weirder. So I thought, well, that bunny trail. So we have, Daniel Merrick writing, that he discovered Yahusha and Yahuah.
And I believe he wrote the
And he
book
wrote
about it and published it in 2014.
2014.
So that's like the most modern release about it. Is that correct?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
also, so you go down bunny trails trying to find things, because they claim the root of the word, the whole issue is that it's Yahoo or Yahoo, either with an O or two U's. So I thought, well, I'll track that down. And the year after the Yahusha Bible or the Yahuah Bible comes out, boy, it's hard to not get these mixed up. And that, I think, is working in their favor.
Because it's hiding a lot of the evidence.
It is. So then we find a year later, this book comes out, 2015.
The year or two after he released his book saying that the names were changed.
Then we have 2015, The Invention of God, Thomas Romer. Now, basically, I've never read either one of these, I'll have you know, and I'm just going by Amazon's reviews. But and I did some more research, unfortunately, on my phone that I lost and couldn't take over to the computer here. But I think you'll find it yourself pretty easily. So this guy, if you just even go through here, basically is trying to prove that all gods are pretty much the same names of God. But he specifically said that we got the names wrong, that it starts is mispronounced. It's supposed to be Yahoo. And so
basically, this book is all about proving that God doesn't exist because we misinterpret or mistranslate the words, and that it is Yahuah and Yeshua or whatever, and therefore it's not real or something like that.
Yeah.
So basically, he's using this whole movement as proof that God doesn't exist.
Well, and I think I find it a little disturbing, not bringing up the past, but he's German, and so, and the reason I went down this trail is when
you might want to explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, I'm just about to. I said the reason I went down this bunny trail and I found it interesting was when I saw it changes their names to Bat or Bar, I think dog pedigrees. That's just what came to mind. And you always do your name plus of, and then the city where the dog was born. And I thought about this. So it's the same setup. I find it very interesting that the main proof for where this translation is coming from came from a German. Could be totally unrelated. It just is a very interesting considering the history.
Yeah, because she was actually confused. She knows a lot about what was it, German?
I used to speak when I was a kid. Of course, kid level German, but I used to speak Swiss German fluently. So sometimes it comes back.
The one video we saw, someone or a video or article, someone had written her name as something bat ya, and she's like, see, bat is a German word for of. So they're saying they're such and such of God, but then we realized, oh wait, no, bat is also the Hebrew word.
Bat mitzvah, bar mitzvah. So bat means daughter. Girl. So they're saying, so and so daughter of God or so and so son of God.
Yeah.
And that's why if you see your friends have their name Bar or Bat, and they've changed it.
But is that even a naming scheme with among the Jews to have their name have Bat or Bar in it?
I'm not familiar with too many that do.
Okay. So it might also be another reason that these people don't really understand Jewish culture, but think they do, maybe.
I mean, they do because they have Ben or Ben, Gurion, or that's a common one, or they do, it'll be son of Joseph, Bar Yosef, things like that, but it's not so common now, Yeah. So that's where I thought it was odd because you're seeing so many Americans doing this now. So, so just like I said, these are bunny trails, research them yourself. It's very hard to get info on, but so Thomas Romer here, very interesting, taught many colleges, many doctoral things on many different gods throughout history. So
so basically it just right there always shows you that something's up. Someone decides that the name we've been using is wrong and changes the name to something else, says that's the true name, and then just 2 years later someone uses that new made up name to disprove God ever existed. It feels like that probably has a reasoning for that being so easily connected so quickly.
Well, but here's the problem. I just found the fly in the ointment. I didn't check the date on this first book. Look at the date.
Oh, yeah. So you even mentioned this.
2013. Yeah.
This is the first thing you found when looking up Yahusha.
Yeah, so this is the first thing I found. I now just realized I didn't look at the date. This actually came out in 2013, so it predates the Yahuah Bible. So this actually more proves that it comes from, and I had found one day that it was two ladies who left and I can't find it now. Should have saved a picture of it, but this was many months ago. It was two ladies who left the Seventh-day Adventist church that started this. And so this could kind of maybe prove that theory too, because you have Yahusha, the Black Messiah, and this is 2013. So, it's just one of those things. Now there's different competing things, and that's why I said I don't want to get sensitive towards anybody, but there's a movement towards, as they call it, the Black Israeli movement. And this is a very interesting thing. Genetically, we could go down that route, but Cherokees, some people of color, they are likely Jewish. So it's very interesting, but this is definitely then, I think, the first incidents we found, at least in print.
Well, at least in modern time.
Yeah. So, it's just something that, the best that we can do to show this is a modern thing. This is obviously comes from many different viewpoints, so you can't say it's historically correct or that it comes from a mistranslation of history. I think what we have here is a modern day religious version of The Secret. We've got something new, let's go with it. Kabbalah tried it, many people got drawn into that, and I think this has become a religion for those that know Kabbalah is an issue, but still practice some of it, and it definitely draws from different, religions, because there's definitely Seventh-day Adventist beliefs in it. There's also definitely Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs in it with the inner and outer courts and things like that. Possibly some black nationalist movement. And the funny thing is, and I'll say it's funny, none of this is funny at all, but it seems to be, and I'm not trying to be racist, but mostly white people everyone I know is that's doing this is white people. So,
which is weird.
Which is weird.
Basically, if this came first, some black people decided that this is the correct version of history, and then immediately after, a white guy took the idea and it became really profitable and rich off of it. And, so it's like it feels like there's like already a connection there of someone was trying to come up with something and someone else stole it from them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also it does kind of feel like there's a saying called "born too late to discover the world, born too early to discover the universe." The idea is that we currently live in a time in which the world has been explored so much, there's not a whole lot of reason for most people to ever explore it. If you want to know more about the world, you just Google it. But we can't go into outer space yet. You can't go exploring new planets. So we're kind of stuck at a time in which we have nothing to explore and nothing new to discover. And so it does feel like there's all these people who are coming up with all these crazy theories because they're desperate to have something that they can call their own. Something to say, I discovered this. I found something that someone else didn't find. And I can understand that, but it does feel like it's possible that some people are doing it not even because they fully believe it, but simply because they want something to call their own. If someone else believes it, then at least they'll be immortalized in history. At least they'll have something. Yeah.
Well, I think you can't deny the Seventh-day Adventist roots, because so many of the people practicing this are vegetarian or vegan. They definitely don't do pork, although that's Jewish. But I have noticed almost all of them are vegans or vegetarians.
Yeah, there's always a lot of similarities between the people who have these beliefs.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but Seventh-day Adventism is very popular even in the black community. What's this mean?
That's just how long we've been recording.
Oh, it just pops up every once in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, the black community, there's like in Grenada is pretty popular there and all that. So the fact of the matter that the Black Messiah book we just showed you, it probably originates from the Seventh-day Adventists, which is the first time that we can figure out the origin of Yahusha, or however it's called.
Yeah.
It's like first they made it, and then the Seventh Day Adventists made up this term. As far as we can tell, there's no basis on it whatsoever.
Well, they didn't. Some people that left their church did.
No, the Seventh Day Adventist, the Dob. He seemed to have done sacred name movement.
Yeah, but as far as Yahusha and Yahuah, he didn't make that up. There was two ladies, and again, I wish I could find this, and I used to have names that left the Seventh-day Adventist church.
But the point is that this Dob guy who invented the Seventh Day Adventists, he started the sacred name movement. The whole point was that the name is so important, and then it's very likely that these black ladies who made the Black Messiah book are probably from a Seventh Day Adventist church. So they already have that kind of belief. And he said, but the name is wrong. And they changed the name. And then someone else took that name and popularized it because he just needs to be famous. That's my best guess. I can't really read the guy. Maybe he fully believes it. I don't know. But I usually have a lot of distrust of like that. When, people like that, I usually believe that they are going to be not so genuine about what they say, Yeah.
Well, and I just read something further here, and I didn't know it was right, but so the sacred, because I wanted to make clear that Clarence Dodd did not start the Seventh-day Adventist, but he's the one who started. He was in that church, and he started this sacred names movement. But this movement was influenced by Joseph Franklin Rutherford, who changed the name of the main branch of the Bible student movement to the Jehovah's Witnesses in 1931 because of his belief in the importance of the Hebrew name of God. So it's definitely all related. And so Mr. Dodd, who was at the time a member of the Church of God, which is Seventh-day Adventist, began keeping all the Jewish festivals, including Passover, and adopting sacred name doctrines as well. So the Assembly of Yahuah is an organization of the Sacred Name Movement. So it goes on and on. Just look up Sacred Name Movement and Bibles and things like that in Wikipedia, and you'll find some good bunny trails to follow.